Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have my June book haul. So in the month of June, I acquired 13 books. It wasn't really intentional, but I did do a little bit of secondhand shopping in the month of June. If you are unfamiliar with how I normally do my book hauls, I do split them off into sections of how I acquired them. So this month we have library books, books that I bought new, gifts that I received, and books that I bought secondhand. And I'm pretty sure that book hauls don't really need an introduction, so we're just gonna hop straight into it, starting off with the library books. So the first library book I picked up this month was My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I don't really know too much about this. I did just see it in my library and snap it up. The way that I use my library is I just kind of go in and pick out books that I've heard about on BookTube but that I wouldn't necessarily buy full price. The reason I picked up this one is that Cody from Cody's Book Corner has read it and she did really enjoy it. I think her only fault that she had with it is that she wishes it was longer, as it's quite a small book. And all I really know about this one is that it is about a girl whose sister has a tendency to kill her boyfriends, and our main character always ends up going in cleaning up for her. I think the narrative of this story is that the sister has a new boyfriend and the main character is also interested in him, so she's concerned that he is about to get murdered. I think that's right, although I'm not too sure. Literally just picked this up on Cody's recommendation, but I hope I can get to it soon. My second library book was a complete cover buy, but I am really interested in it, and that is The Starlit Wood New Fairy Tales by a whole range of authors. So the first reason that I picked this up is that the cover is absolutely beautiful, and the spine, I really like the way that this whole book is presented. This is a collection of short stories. You guys know I'm not particularly fond of short stories, but this has a lot of fantasy names that I recognize in it, so I was really intrigued to see what they came up with for this. And I've also looked at the contents page of this, and not only does it tell you the name of the short story and the author that wrote it, it also tells you which fairy tale they're retelling. I absolutely love fairy tales and retellings, so I couldn't really pass this up, but it was definitely the cover that drew me in. If you are interested in which authors have written stories for this, the ones that drew me in were Shauna Maguire, Naomi Novik, Marjorie Liu, Garth Nix, and Catherine M. Valente. Some of those I have read from before and some I haven't, but I'm very excited to get to this one. So moving on to the gifts, we do of course have a couple from Gavin. If you have not discovered Gavin yet, Gavin is a sweet little bean. He spoils me to death, and he has his own BookTube channel, which I will link in the description box down below. He is very, very funny. He makes imitation videos of booktubers as well as just general booktube videos. He is also so kind and so generous, and I love him to bits, and I would definitely recommend that you check him out if you haven't already. But he sent me 2 books this month. They were for reasons. The first one is Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin in the special leatherbound editions. He sent me Game of Thrones for my birthday last month. He sent me this because he knew that I was going to be going through a difficult time at some point in this month, which I really was, and I definitely appreciate this. So if you have not seen these editions before, they come in a slipcase. They have the number 2 on them, as well as a very pretty spine. I have to say my absolute favourite thing about these editions is that they come with the map of Westeros on the front and back covers, and they also have absolutely beautiful illustrated end pages, which I love, and they are also gold edged. Thank you so much, Gavin, for this. I know that you're trying to get me the whole set. You really don't need to, but I do absolutely adore them. The other book that Gavin sent me was to celebrate my 300th video, which was my June Bookopoly video, and he sent me My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This is another book that Cody has just recently read and really liked. Gavin has also read it recently, and I think it is Ola Quinn's favourite book as well. I first heard about this on Natasha's channel from My Reading Is Odd, and this cover drew me in because it is marketed as a VHS tape. It's all old and distressed. Even the spine has some fake wear on it, and it has like the VHS labels here, so I just love that about this. But this is a horror story. I don't think it's necessarily a scary one. I think it's more of a funny one, and this follows a girl whose best friend has been possessed, assumedly by the devil. This is set in the 80s, which is why it has the VHS marketing, and I believe that the title of every chapter is a popular 80s song. I love 80s music. If you saw on Twitter the outfit I'm wearing right now, I called it my I'm going to decorate a house in the 80s look. I absolutely love everything about the 80s, so I'm very excited to read this one. The last gift I received this month was actually the first gift I received, but this is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. I received this from Cody. She sent me this following a discussion. Now, I have wanted to read this for a while. Cody absolutely loves this, but I I wanted to ask her a very important question, and that question was, is the vibe of this book the same vibe as the bit in Game of Thrones where all of the old men go on an adventure north of the wall? I've been meaning to ask her this question for quite some time. I finally asked her and she said that the vibe kind of was like that. As this is one of her favourite books, she did send me a copy, so I really hope that I can get to this soon, especially while I'm feeling all that nostalgia and grief over Game of Thrones. This is an adult fantasy book that follows a band of old men who used to be mercenaries, but they have been in retirement for quite some time. However, one of their daughters goes missing and that character contacts all of his old friends and asks if it would be possible for them to get the band back together so they can go find his daughter. Absolutely so excited for this. I hope I love it. I'm not usually one to want to read books because of humour, but just that Game of Thrones reference and the old man vibes, like I love old man banter, especially when it's like lads on tour kind of thing, so I really hope that I love this one. Into the books that I bought new this month, we definitely have a theme. The first one is Orange is the Complete Collection Volume 2 by Ichigo Takano. If you missed my mid-June wrap-up, Orange Volume 1 is now my favourite book of the year so far. I absolutely adored it. It made me feel so many things, and I am very much a person who will make books my favourite based on emotion. So this is a manga series. It has been published in these big chunky volumes. There are 2 collections and there's a volume called Orange Future which contains, I think, 2 short stories set in the future of this world. This is a beautiful story about friendship that has an undercurrent of grief and some really dark topics in here. So the storyline of this is that our main character, Noho, receives a letter from her future self saying that a boy is going to be transferring into her class, and if she cannot change a few things that are going to happen across the next few months, then that boy will not be with them in the future. He will have passed away. So obviously we have some hard-hitting topics in here. There are some very dark moments in here. There are moments of sadness, of hopelessness, but there are such great friendship vibes that I absolutely love. There's also romance. There's a beautiful love triangle. If you like to feel things, I would recommend reading this series. So as soon as I was nearly done with volume 1, I Amazon Prime myself volume 2. I am like trying so hard not to read this right now because I have other books on my TBR that I'm reading, obviously, but also because I don't want the story to be over. I just love it that much. But I'm definitely glad that I have this ready to go. The other 3 books that I bought new this month are all kind of the same thing. I bought Children of the Whales volume 3, volume 4 and volume 5. So this is another manga series I've been really loving. I'm so into manga right now, can you tell? And this one is a fantasy series that follows 14-year-old Chakoro, who is an archivist on the Mud Whale. The Mud Whale is an island that floats along on the Sea of Sand. They've been on this Mud Whale for 93 years, or at least the population has. Obviously they've grown, but they don't really know what it is they inhabit. They don't know why they're there. And one day they float past another island, they scout it for supplies, and they come across the first human they've ever seen that is not from their community. That kicks off like a whole chain of events. This series is very beautiful. The art style, as you can tell from the covers, is absolutely stunning. There is some brutality in this series that I did not expect. There's also a cool magic system based on emotion in this series, and essentially, as you can see, they were 3 for 2 on my comic book store, so I just took the opportunity to pick up the next 3 volumes because I think there are 10 out so far, and I'm pretty sure this series isn't finished yet. Okay, so lastly we have the 4 books that I bought secondhand this month, and guys, this was a really good month for secondhand books. Normally when I say that, it's because I've picked up like 10 books that I'm really interested in, but this time there is something that's particularly special about every single one of these books. So the first one we have is Chante by Gita Trellis. This is an ARC copy. This is why this one's particularly special. I always love picking up ARCs in charity shops. This literally cost me 50 pence, and I'm always intrigued as to who it is in that area who is receiving the ARCs. And so I picked this up essentially because it's an ARC. There has been a little bit of buzz about it on BookTube when the ARCs were being sent out for this. I haven't really heard much since, and I wasn't particularly interested in it, but I'm very much an opportunist when it comes to the books that I buy because I buy the majority secondhand. Essentially, if I see a book in a charity shop that I'm kind of interested in, I take that as a sign that I'm supposed to read it. So all I know about Chante is that it is a young adult fantasy, and it takes place during the French Revolution, and it has magic. It has been penned as a Les Mis retelling with magic, but I'm not sure if it's being compared to Les Mis just because it's set in the French Revolution. The other arc that I picked up this month is actually on my June Bookopoly TBR. I haven't read this yet. This will be probably the last book I read this month, but that is The Furies by Kate Lowe. Once again, picked this up because it was an arc. It's a really pretty arc as well. I really like it when they just put big text on the cover. All I know about this one is that it is a young adult thriller and it follows a group of girls. I'm guessing it's a little bit bitchy because it says on the front you'd kill to be one of them, but I do believe that it may have a slight fantastical aspect as well because Louise O'Neill has blurbed it and said, witches, murder and teenage girls, this is the book of my dreams. So I'm obviously very excited in reading this one, and you will have a review for this one soon as well. At the same time as I picked up those arcs, I picked up my best charity shop find ever, and that was the Queen of Errands by Cassandra Clare in these very limited edition Waterstones hardback. Honestly, people are killing for the Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows copies of these. The Queen of Errands one is not in as much demand because it was a lot easier to get hold of, and a lot more people were aware of it at the time that it was released. However, I picked this up in a charity shop. This is like an extremely sought after special edition, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this. So this is the third book in the Dark Artifices series. This follows on after the Mortal Instruments from Cassandra Clare. I have read the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices. I have not started the Dark Artifices yet, as you guys know. I have mixed feelings about Cassandra Clare, but I am definitely 100% going to read this trilogy by her before I decide whether or not I will be buying any more books from her, because I'm kind of at the point where I'm not sure whether I want to continue reading Shadowhunter books, but I will give the Dark Artifices series a try and I will read the entirety of that trilogy before I decide whether I'm going to continue. The copies that I collect of the Dark Artifices are the extra large paperbacks with the sprayed edges, but I am still very excited to have this one. And then the last book that I picked up secondhand, I picked up today on the day that I'm filming this, and I was really good today. I have been into York shopping and I haven't been into most of the charity shops in York. I only went into my favourite ones, and I saw this in the window and I looked at it and I was like, I'm gonna go buy that book. And that book is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. Now this was getting a lot of buzz up to its release. I don't know too much about the plot of it, but it was being penned as a really diverse Game of Thrones. I believe that this draws on a lot of African history, so what I'm kind of expecting from this is an epic fantasy with multiple perspectives. So I was really excited about this, and the cover is absolutely stunning, so I put this on my Amazon wishlist. However, since this has been released, a lot of people are really struggling with this because it contains a lot of hard topics and it is very graphic. And by hard topics, I'm not sure the specifics of all of them, so I'm not sure whether it's like hard-hitting topics, but I know there's a lot of iffy stuff in here that people just don't really want to read about because it makes them kind of squicky. I can't tell you what those topics are for sure because I haven't read this, but I do know that there is some extreme sexual violence in here. However, that is not the thing that made me take this book off my Amazon wishlist. The thing that made me take this book off my Amazon wishlist is that it contains bestiality, and that is one thing. Like, my tolerance is up here, but I draw the line at anything to do with like gratuitous abuse or disgusting things with animals. But it was £3. Still kind of curious about this, still hoping I can like it. Adult fantasy is notorious for being really brutal. I'm hoping there's a good story in here underneath all of the really questionable graphic content. So those are all the books that I've hauled in June. Please let me know if you have read any of these and what you thought about them. Please also don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. So that's it from me today. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.